Hello, this is Peter Joseph, and you're listening to V Radio.
Good evening, and welcome to this edition of V Radio. If this is your first time listening to V Radio, please check out my website, v-radio.org. There you will find, under the archives, more shows like this one, interviews with documentary filmmakers, activists, scientists, politicians, the good kind, and alternative candidates for various offices in basically news in regards to the Occupy movement and various other things going on in the world. Today, my guest is Mitchell Jacobs from the Resource-Based Communities Group. Mitchell, go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, everybody. My name's Mitch. You can call me Mitch. Mitch
okay.
Jacobs. I recently formed a nonprofit organization called Resource-Based Communities. I've been an activist with the Zeitgeist movement, since it started, I believe in 2008. And we formed the Southwest Florida chapter down here. And since then, we've been promoting Zeitgeist, and we've visited the Venus Project. We were really intrigued by, the model for the resource-based economy. And what brought us to resource-based communities was just to find a middle point so that we can help usher in some cultural change, because we were promoting, and we wanted something to kind of turn to. How can we teach people about this resource-based economic model? How can we teach people hands-on instead of lecturing? How can we really work on the culture? And so we organized a nonprofit, and it's been running now for, I believe, since November. And since then, I guess we can get into that in a little bit. It's just completely exploded. It's the YouTube hits, the people visiting the website, the group page on Facebook. It's unreal.
Excellent. Well, basically, as I told you off the air, my tradition basically is that I ask every new guest who comes on V Radio to discuss what made them an activist. What was the precipice moment for you to make you go from just being somebody who was seeking to have 2.5 kids and a white picket fence and a gas guzzler car to being someone who wanted to make resource-based communities?
Okay. Well, when I was in high school, I went to public school my whole life until high school. My grandparents wanted me to go to a private school. And at the private school, I was really spoon-fed the religion and just the indoctrination. And I always kind of felt like, something doesn't seem right about, everything. And I would question things. And the movie The Matrix was a really cool eye-opener, but I didn't connect the dots to reality until I think I was in Barnes & Noble when I was, 21 or 20, something like that. I just started college, and I came across one of those natural cure books, and I opened it, and I saw, all the terrible things that the government allows to be put into your food, and the pharmaceutical companies and all that stuff. And I read one of those books in its entirety, and after that I said, holy shit, these companies are allowing this? Well, what else is wrong with America? And then I just kept spawning on from there. And then eventually I started watching Alex Jones videos and starting to wake up, and then I really started looking for solutions. I saw the first Zeitgeist, was completely blown away. And then addendum, when I saw the Venus Project at the end, I said, oh my gosh, there it is. That's a resource-based economy. It's the next step. It's unbelievable. And then ever since then, I've been doing whatever it takes to promote it. And 3 trips to the Venus Project later, we're still down here promoting. We're doing the One Planet Project. And then basically, up until November, that's when we started the nonprofit. And there's so much more in between. I've done a lot of other activist work throughout college I've done stuff with the Coalition of Immokalee Workers to help get fair wages, and a bunch of other different things, Hands Across the Sand, and some other nonprofits as well. So it's been more and more profound in my life, and now it's to the point where I'm driving my girlfriend crazy because it's all I can think about. So.
Right. Well, now you said that you've also been involved with the Occupy movement. You want to talk about that?
Oh, yeah. Me and I think 7 other people took a trip up to Washington, D.C. to occupy up there, and we drove all the way up there, and we stayed in a hostel, and we filmed everything. We were working on a documentary called Be the Change, but we've been having trouble getting funding for that. But there's no time limit on that, so we can keep working on Be the Change little by little. But, yeah, we went up there, and that was crazy. We marched all the way up to the big museum there. There was pepper spray going on, and, same thing that's happening in New York and now Chicago. And we also had an Occupy in Fort Myers, so we participated in that. It was really important for us to be a part of that because we were able to find an outlet where people were also promoting change, and they were trying to, talk about different ideas. It's a really good outlet to talk to these activists because there's still a huge population of people that don't know what a resource-based economy is. They have no idea, and these people are actively protesting and getting out in the streets, and it's really, really important to connect with other activist groups, we found, because they're open to this stuff usually, and if not, it's good information to pass along to them anyway.
Excellent. Yeah, I definitely had a lot of great experiences with the Occupy movements around here. I've actually kind of gone on a little bit of a tour of them. I'm going to try to continue to do that when my finances pick up again. But basically, it's refreshing that even when you don't agree with absolutely everything, every occupier you meet, usually you can reach a middle ground to have a good intellectual conversation with them, which I find to be very refreshing. You're usually surrounded by people that are socially conscious. They may have different solutions than you sometimes, but the mutual respect that I see amidst the members of the Occupy movement is definitely like a breath of fresh air. I get homesick for it, actually, when I'm not at an Occupy movement. I start to miss it a lot. Now, you said you've visited the Venus Project a few times. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I visited the Venus Project for the first time, I believe, in 2008. And at that time, there was only, I think there was like 6 or 7 people there. And then I visited again recently. I can't remember if it was last year. I think it was last year. And their numbers, it seems as if the few times that I've been there have gone up. They're getting a lot of people coming from all around the world. Actually, the first time I went, I met a guy from Hawaii that came all the way down. And fortunately, I live only, I think I'm like an hour away. So we're really close by to the Venus Project. It was a great experience, absolutely unforgettable. Jacques was awesome, Roxanne was awesome. The tour was amazing. Every time I brought a group there, they were just blown away. And it's definitely something that everybody should at least go and do one time, just so they can see it for themselves and meet Jacques.
Yeah, I totally agree. My visit there was definitely a kind of a wish fulfillment thing. It gave one of my goals in life, really, to visit, and it was a great time that we had down there with Jacques and Roxanne. Now, we've discussed, obviously, a little bit about your background, and obviously now we're talking about resource-based communities, which, to those of you who are listening, you can check it out at resourcebasedcommunities.org. I put the link in the description of this particular broadcast for those of you tuning in. Now, I'm looking at your website here. You got a lot of great stuff here. You had that video of you like kind of floating around in a river in Florida, and it brought back some childhood memories for me because I spent a lot of time there when I was a kid. We lived in a trailer park that was, in a very undeveloped area, so you had all kinds of wildlife, and I always remember my first time walking to the bus stop an armadillo came out of the jungle and looks up at me like, what? And then just crosses the street and goes to the other side of the street. And I was just blown away because, I had been a Yankee my whole life, living up in Michigan and Ohio, and I had never seen an armadillo outside of a zoo, so it was definitely unique. Between that and the wild pigs and the lizards and the snakes and the spiders, it was definitely interesting. But yeah, your video was very compelling, and I wanted to, take my hats off to you and, all the people involved with that. Do you want to talk at all about what went into making that video?
Yeah, actually, that video was shot on the river at a place called the Happehatchee Center, which it was a nonprofit that I was previously working at, and that's where I basically learned everything about organizing a 501c3. But yeah, we were going to shoot on the actual porch of one of it's like this wooden house that was built in the 80s, and it's right on the river, and we were going to shoot there. And then my buddy Kevin said, let's shoot on the little boat. We've got a John boat still parked here, so let's go on the river and shoot there. And I said, that's a brilliant idea. So we crammed into this little John boat, and from the waist up, it looks like I'm dressed really nice, but I'm wearing like black gym shorts underneath the shot. And we've got a guy crouched down with the camera on me, and then another guy crouched down with the boom mic. So it's like, I think there was 4 of us in this little tiny John boat going up and down the river, and there was these like sticks and branches behind me, so I kept messing my lines up. So there's a lot of short cuts in the video because I had to constantly keep looking behind me and dodging branches. But it was really cool. Once I saw the finished product, I was like, this is beautifully shot. And that's my buddy Pat Mitchell who shot it. He has a website called Real Emotive, and yeah, he was amazing. My buddy Simon did the sound. Really, really happy with all of that. So, and I guess we had only 100 hits or so, and then Zeitgeist Global got a hold of it on Facebook. I didn't submit it to them, but they got a hold of it, and we went from 100 views to like 3,800 within a week. And ever since then, the numbers have just been going up and up and up, and I can't thank the Zeitgeist movement enough for backing us on this. It's extremely profound, and we're going to continue to work our asses off to make this a reality,
Yeah, that's actually I learned about you guys through Facebook. Somebody had posted it in the Venus Project section of Facebook. I guess, forget the fellow's name, Faulkner, I think it was, Faulkner. And it posted, he posted along the lines of, food for thought. And then I went to the website and went, hey, this looks like a good V radio show. So I liked what you were doing, and I wanted to promote your work. So, Facebook and the media that you're using is definitely helping. So now I guess let's talk first of all. You have a lot of good to say about this person, Ellen Peterson. Do you want to discuss what her involvement with this is?
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on the website. What Jacques is to design, Ellen was to environmental activism. Ellen was basically my mentor. At 87 years old, she was running about 8 organizations. I lived with her. She was an extremely profound activist. She had fought so many battles with so many corporations. She's had guns pulled on her before. She's had threats before. And this is a woman who basically would open her door to anybody that needed help. And she has protected the 5 acres of property that she was living on, and has had so many offers to sell, and has turned everybody down flat. And she has done an amazing job at preserving this little 5-acre piece of land, which people want to take over for commercial property since it's on a big road. But it looks like old Florida. I mean, you'd be blown away. So she's probably the most inspirational figure in my entire life. Just a truly amazing person. She actually met Jacques too. She years and years ago, she heard about him before the Zeitgeist movement even existed, and she just knocked on his door and he let her in. So this is a long time ago. But yeah, definitely she taught me how to do the nonprofit process. I worked in her office for a really long time, and just truly an amazing woman. So she'd recently passed away in October, and that was a tremendous blow to the community here. Mm-hmm. But at that point, since we were just talking about organizing the resource-based communities at that point, once she passed away, I knew that we had to finish it. So I got together with Chris Faulkner, who is the treasurer, and Marlene Robinson, who is the secretary, and also Drew Scott, who's now on board as well. And to do this sort of thing, you have to have a board, I guess, with bylaws and all that stuff, because that's the way the IRS is. And so that was a difficult process, but now it's just getting easier and easier.
Now, yeah, I didn't know the lady passed away. That's too bad, but at least she was able to have a lasting legacy that goes beyond life and being able to have an impact on you. I was going to say, it's great when you can meet, people who've, basically you would say, mature age, who've seen so much, and when you can actually kind of reach out to them and bond with them, because in many cases you find that some people who are of that age, it's like there's almost kind of an assumed distance you're supposed to keep with each other. There's only so much you can have in common, but people of that age have had a huge impact on me my whole life, whether it was Senator Mike Gravel, who's now in his 80s, senator from the Vietnam era. He had a big impact on me. Obviously, Jacques Fresco, Congressman Ron Paul to some degree. These are all people that I've interacted with that have had a profound effect on me. And when you can get one of them, and you can talk to them and relate to them and you have a lot in common, it's a very powerful thing to consider that you're discussing things with somebody who's been on the earth for so long. And I think that it's excellent when you can have those kinds of relationships. They definitely enrich your life. I've got several friends actually in that category, and I think a lot of it is just that for me in particular, I've always been somebody who's been able to talk to people like that. So I would but overall, though, I would have to say, you're lucky to have had that kind of relationship with somebody who's obviously very special. And it's a good thing now that her work will live on through you and through everyone else that she's had an impact on in the world of activism. So now, you guys, obviously, you've got different people who are involved here. We were going to try to get some more of them on the show, but do you want to mention anybody in specific who's helping with the organization?
Well, now the numbers are becoming so great so quickly that it's almost hard for me to remember them all. But definitely the Southwest Florida Zeitgeist chapter, most everybody that's been involved with that has helped in some way. Drew Scott, Chris Faulkner, Marlene Robinson, and then also Bobby Lee Gruninger. She was on the board at the Happehatchee Center, and she was on the board with Alan Peterson, and she donated 2.5 acres to RBC, resource-based communities, and now she's basically we kind of put her as a leadership role in the Collier County area, and she's been working like crazy with the city and with different other organizations to try to preserve this other piece of property, which is across the street from the property that she donated to us. And this is a 200-acre preserve, and we're trying to acquire that through the nonprofit so we can keep it preserved and turn it into a nature center so that it one day doesn't become somebody's residential plan. So Bobby Lee has been extremely helpful. I definitely want to give her thanks. And just to everybody that's contributed to RBC, to the nonprofit, you guys are awesome. It's because of the people that are contributing and offering us new information. Just in any way, people's contribution. We're learning every day, and now we're able to get out on the property and start taking out some of the invasive pepper trees that are killing all the other trees there. So we're doing that, and we're working on getting a driveway out there so we can do some sort of community center without the code enforcement Nazis coming after us.
Right. Now, obviously, so you guys, you've been looking here, did you check out, are you familiar with open source ecology? Have you thought about using any of their technologies?
Yeah, absolutely. I just heard about that recently, how they were able to, design. They're testing. How many of the actual machines have they built so far? Do you know?
I don't know all of them. I know that they just made they got the brick press finished. Like, it's a condensed earth brick press that that they give away basically the design for, or they'll make them for you. They're perfecting the tractor right now, and they're working on a lot of other great designs, basically to be open source designs to allow people to build their own sustainable communities. And the amount of money that you save by building these things yourself is really huge. To anybody listening who's not familiar with open source ecology, I've had them on the show twice. Martin Jakubowski is a TED Fellow. He's a great guy, and you can check him out in some of the archives. I also have a link, I believe, to their website on my website, but I believe it's openfarmtech.org. But yeah, you would definitely, I would think, want to network with Martin and get together about possibility of any kind of collaborations before you guys ever do anything like buy a tractor or whatever. Get yourself somebody who's got some skills and save some cash for your community by building some of these devices that they're developing. But yeah, it was just and let's kind of I guess address this one matter. What is it that what is resource-based communities about? What is it that you want to accomplish? Let's kind of discuss it as if it were a mission statement.
Okay. Well, we look at the resource-based economy as the transition as a whole. It's the solution, we hope, to the monetary problem. Resource-based communities is not that. We're helping with that transition on a micro level. We want to engage communities so that they can reconnect with nature in a hands-on form. So are we solving all of the problems like the Zeitgeist movement and the Venus Project? No, but we are doing something. We're helping in the transition. As I said before, instead of doing a lecture, we'd like to bring people out to the property. We'd like to use preserved land so that people can, so people can start to thrive, so people can start to use this open source ecology, so people can test aquaponics and hydroponics and things like that. So our goal is to help ease the transition, because it's really difficult to talk to a capitalist and say, this is what we're presenting, and hopefully we get there before it all collapses. Okay, well, that's not good enough for a lot of people. I'd like to be able to show somebody how to get there, and I'd like to be able to learn along the way. So instead of just talking about how we can arrive at this, we started the organization to ease that, and also to help with the culture. My education background is sociology, and I'm extremely concerned about the culture, and doing this sort of thing is really going to help. We think that it'll really help ease that transition. So hopefully that wasn't too long-winded of an answer.
No, that's a good answer. I've always had an interest in sociology, actually. Apparently, even before I knew what it was, there was a time I was kind of dejected about things that were going on in school, and my school counselor asked to speak to me, and he asked me what was bothering me, and I kind of gave him the sociological analysis of high school politics, and he says to me, he's like, "Where did you study sociology?" And I said, "What's sociology?" Because I was not aware that there was a science for the study of groups of people. It's always been something I've been very fascinated by. Maybe you'd like to be a panelist on my upcoming show, because I'm going to be writing a blog about certain aspects of sociology and the way people interact in large groups. But that's a tangent for another time. So you guys want to build sustainable communities. You guys are talking about doing that on this 200 acres that you're trying to get through the nonprofit?
Well, it's tough. Depending on certain places, you can do certain things. So on this 200-acre piece of land, to do the sustainable community in itself is going to be really, really difficult because of the way that the permitting is and the zoning in Collier County. It's going to be really, really tough. We definitely want to do sustainable communities, but it has to be in places that we can do the co-housing stuff. Let's see. Hang on one second. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Sorry, I was getting interrupted.
That's no problem. I'll take a moment for station identification. You are listening to V Radio. Please visit our website, v-radio.org. Is that enough time, or do I need to stay?
No. I'm good. So yeah. Anyway, whatever we can do and get away with legally on certain properties, we can go for. On the 200-acre piece of land, it's going to be extremely difficult. I'm going to try in every way necessary to make that at least a nature center, but we have to get that switched over to ag zoning first, and that's our first step. Right now, it's all zone residential. And Naples is an extremely difficult city. Actually, Collier County is an extremely difficult county to get things like that done in. But resource-based communities is going to be we want it to be a national organization, and then in the future a global one, so that people can join and start branches in their area, much like the Zeitgeist movement or the Sierra Club. They can start in their own area, and then in the future we'll be able to allocate funds to help people to do their own projects in their own side of the United States. Right now we've got people that have joined from Michigan, now California, Alabama. People are wanting to do this everywhere, and we would love for that to happen. And obviously certain counties are going to have certain regulations on what you can actually do. It sucks, but we don't want to break too many rules because we could lose our tax exemption status. So.
Right. Well, geez. I gotta say, now that I know that you got people in Michigan, I'll have to hook up with those people, see what they're up to. But yeah, I look forward to that for sure, and especially with the way the technologies are developing. I don't know if you tuned into my last episode, but I had a guy on from PowerTube. Basically, it's a company that's developed an alternative form of geothermal energy that takes up a footprint of like a 30 by 30 by 8 building. And can power up to 16,000 homes. So a very small amount of land actually set aside for this thing, and you can power just huge amounts of homes with this technology. To any of you guys tuning in right now, that's actually the show that I did right before this one. You can easily find it by going to my website. But have you guys looked at what kind of technologies you're thinking about for energy, or like are you looking at solar or wind, or are you not really to that stage yet?
Well, obviously, anything that the Zeitgeist movement was talking about with the free energy, we're behind. We're not at that stage yet at all, but we've heard through the grapevine that there's certain companies, energy companies, that will donate to organizations that are a 501c3 nonprofit, and that's one of the benefits of organizing under that status is you can have the ability of gaining access to some of those types of donations. So somebody I met actually at Earthday, we had an RBC tent up at Earthday, and this guy Joe came up to me who was in the Zeitgeist movement, and he said that FPL donates to charitable organizations. They donate solar energy. They donate solar panels. And I haven't double-checked on that yet just because we're not there, but if that's true, that's absolutely amazing. I mean, there's no telling what types of energy we can get, and it's basically just networking with other people, and definitely, I mean, geothermal is absolutely amazing. We've all seen that in Zeitgeist Addendum. And so whatever we can get our hands on that can make things run without plugging into a grid, that'd be awesome. And again, we're still, 6 months in, we're at a completely infantile stage, but I'm so pumped that everybody in the, in this realm is backing us right now, because we really, really need it.
That's excellent. Now, basically at this point, you guys are trying to get together, obviously, the money to help with that 200-acre plot, but what else are you guys working on as far as, like, what can people do to give you guys a hand?
Oh, man. Well, I don't want to only, people can contribute with a donation, which really helps. It gives us, it puts tools in our hand. It gives us advertising so that we can market ourselves. That all really helps. But even information. People have been, contributing on our group page on Facebook, and has been sharing all kinds of stuff with us. And all this is being taken into account. Anybody that contributes, information sharing is huge. So there's so many different ways. You can contact us through Facebook. You can, I believe all of our emails are up on the website. Anybody that wants to help out in any way is greatly appreciated. And that's the only way that this is going to work, is if the community gets together and really makes this happen. So.
Excellent. Well, Mitch, it's been awesome having you on today. Do you have any further announcements on this project that you wanted to bring up before we finish?
Further announcements on the project. Gosh, I hope I'm not forgetting anything. I probably have a couple people watching or listening, rather, and saying, Mitch, don't forget to say this. Mm-hmm. We just recently did another town hall that was filmed, so we're hopefully going to have that edited. We're going to do another promo video with us working on the property to show. We want to document this every step of the way. So if anybody wants to stay up to date with us, it's resourcebasedcommunities.org. We've got the Facebook page that you can like. We've got the Facebook group page. I'm easy to be in contact with. So also the Zeitgeist Florida chapter, we're doing that as well. So anybody that wants to help or contribute in any way, much appreciated.
Excellent. I'll talk to you a little bit off the air after we're finished here, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. And once again, if this is your first time listening to V Radio, please consider going to my website, v-radio.org, and go ahead and give the URL of Resource-Based Communities out again. I'm sorry, the URL is www.resourcebasedcommunities.org. So, please obviously give them a check out and look into the different work that they're doing. And thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. V-Radio is looking for donations for this month. You're going to be hearing a lot more interviews, hopefully within the next few days. I've just been experiencing a lot of writer's block. Please continue giving me the flow of show ideas that you've been giving me, because that's actually been working out great. So a lot of the people that I've spoken to want to go on sometime next month, which will be good. And if you have any further ideas or things that you would like to see covered on V Radio, I can't promise I'll be able to do all of them, but I'm going to do my best to, give you guys as many of the shows as you request. I'm going to leave you guys with some words from Jock Fresco and Roxanne Meadows.
This is Roxanne Meadows.
And this is Jock Fresco.
And you're listening to V Radio.